speaking at an event this weekend with the Circle of CEOs, Justin Owens, who's a huge part of what we're doing here with NVISIONU. And before I spoke, I had the privilege of speaking after Ed Milet. And wow. So that was fun. Wow. Ed is just, that was my first time hearing him speak. Wow. And he is phenomenal. Yes. I didn't know he was worth 600 million. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so, you know, when I heard that, my ears just really perked up. But there was one thing that he said that really, really excited me. He said, I have two talents. And he said, one of his talents is I love people and I can talk. Those are the two things that he says that he can do. He says, honestly, I don't know anything else, but I know I love people and I can talk. And when he said that, the first person that really came to mind was John. Yes. I've spent some intimate time with him and his family and his friends and some of his close business partners. And his ability to lead is exactly what you just talked about, his ability to love people. And that's what we want to do. We want to create, and we are, where we have leaders that love people, not just love people that are in the company, not just love people that are in your organization, but truly that are even outside of your company, outside of your organization, loving people that, you know, may not wish the well for you. You know, what's amazing is you got a group of people coming together to say, hey, let's do something special here. And there are people out there that are wishing we failed. Yeah. There are people out there actually saying, you know what? It's a startup company. It's risky. But what's amazing about the people that say that, when they hug us. They hug us. They shake our hands. They say, man, you guys are amazing. David, you're great. Yvonne, you're great. Meanwhile, they're telling other people, but you know what? I said, David, we're going to, because how they feel doesn't impact who we are, right? But who we are eventually is going to impact how they feel. Learn that over the years. We're really excited about this call. Let's see if we have, because I don't want to waste any time. I want to make sure we give him all the time that he needs to be on here. All right.
He's raising his hand, right?
No. Let's see here. Power. I don't know who that is. All right.
Total wall phone call. Okay. No, that's not. I don't think that's him.
LG, if you can make sure if they're raising their hand, we want to know it's them that's raising their hand. So if you can get in contact with Linda and see if we can get that done. But yeah, this is actually one of his journals that I got at a training. I think I got this one in Guatemala. John is confirmed. He's on. This is Mark Cole. All right.
Okay.
Cool deal.
So you look for Mark or John?
All right. So Mark, how do we bring him on? Is it?
Do you want me to write John? No, write John. Name John.
I don't think. All right, Mark, you there?
I am here, my friends, and John is on, and it may say John's iPad is maybe what you see, or iPad something, but we've both been on and enjoying you two guys firing us up. We're ready to go make a difference, man. My video is not seeming to work, but I'm going to get that figured out here just a minute as well. But yes, John is on, and it may be JCM iPad is maybe what you see. So that,
let's see here. Nope. I see John.
Let's try that, because that may be him, and I'm hoping his video worked, because I'm having a little bit of a challenge with mine. But guys, I'll tell you, those of you that are having patience with us, I know what John is teaching, and it's going to be worth the wait. I promise you, it's going to be good today. I can assure you that. John, if that is you, it went on mute.
No, can you hear me?
Can hear you, but can't see you.
It's coming.
There he is.
Am I doing any better?
You look fabulous.
Oh, yeah. Everybody around me knows I'm the slowest person with technology going. So, I'm sorry, Dave. I've been listening and watching you, and and it's kind of like I'm raising my hand saying I'm here, but evidently I wasn't quite there. I had no idea how I got in. So anyway, I'm here. I think I'm here. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. We can see you. You're looking good. How are you?
I'm doing great, my friend. It's so good to see you too. I'm so looking forward to our time together today. But we've been running hard and helping a lot of people, and I really look forward to just serving you, David, and your incredible organization. And Aaron and Mark and I we're ready to play team ball and see if we can't move the ball down the field.
Absolutely. Yeah, myself and Yvonne, when we decided to start this company, we knew that we wanted you to be a part of the leadership development of the team and really give everybody an opportunity to grow along with us. I think you're only going to be as strong as your weakest link, but if you can make that weak link really, really strong, then you've got a great opportunity to win. So we're excited about the next year that we're going to have with you and Mark. Mark, we'll love to have your input as well. So it's going to be good.
Yeah. In fact, in my lesson today, David, I'll have Mark join me for a part of it for a few minutes because he has something to add that'll just make it a little bit more effective. So anyway, I love you, friend. You know that, and I love being with you in Houston for your group. That was wonderful. So thanks for having me. Are we ready to rock and roll? Can I go? I'm 75 and I can't wait hardly to get started. Okay, is that okay?
You got it. Well,
okay. I would like to. The lesson I want to teach today is entitled "The Race That Leaders Run." There are a lot of races that I don't particularly run as a leader, but there's one race that not only do I get involved with, but every leader I've ever met is always going to be in this race. And so I'm very excited about teaching. And by the way, Mark and Aaron and I, we just worked this lesson here for you specifically. Okay, this is a one of a kind. This is yours, and this is for your team. And when I was in Houston, I was very inspired by the quality of people in the room, and I thought if I can really help them run this race, this leaders race, the good things are going to happen. And the race that leaders run, here's what I want to, this is the thesis, this is the foundation of everything, David. The race that leaders run is a relay race. When you see a relay race, a leader is in it. Because it takes leadership to bring people together. It takes leadership understand to know that a relay race is much better than an individual race, and that done correctly, a relay race is always not only more effective, it's faster. So the lesson is going to focus on what you do in a relay race, which is you're equipping people, you're reproducing people, you're mentoring people, and most important, you're winning together. You're winning together. A leader in a relay race never celebrates by himself or herself. There's always a group celebration, a team celebration. And I've had a lot of wonderful mentors in my life, but I'm going to talk briefly about two of them that really taught me a lot about this relay race. One was Peter Drucker, And I was really privileged when I was quite young, in my 30s, to have Peter Drucker pour himself into me. And the one thing of all the things that he taught me was the fact that he kept asking me the question, John, who are you developing? Who are you mentoring in your life? And he said, I want, that's going to be your continual work all the time, is developing people, running the race with people. And then John Wooden was my other great mentor. And I remember I was doing an interview with John Wooden. He was the great coach at UCLA. Sports Illustrated said he was the greatest coach of the last century. And I was interviewing Coach Wooden in front of a couple thousand people. And at that time, he was probably about 95. And I asked him, I said, and he, by the way, he won more championships than anyone. He won 10 national championships in basketball. No one's ever come close to that. And so I asked him, I said, Coach, what do you want to be remembered for? What do you want your legacy to be? And I'll never forget, as soon as I asked him that question, he very quickly gave me an answer. He said, certainly not for winning 10 national championships. And the crowd audibly gasped. I mean, it was like, because he won 10 national championships. No one else has ever done that. And I looked at him and said, Coach, if you don't want to be known for winning 10 national college basketball championships, then what do you want to be known for? And he said, well, it's very simple. I want to be known for the coach that helped young men have successful lives. He said, I'm a teacher more than a mentor. And he said, I want to help all the players that were on my team. I want them to do really well in life. And both of these men, Peter Drucker and John Wooden, as I knew them and watched them and was mentored by them, what they did really well, David, is they handed the baton off very successfully. They knew how to not only mentor people and develop people, but they knew how to get them running the race. So I began to write down some notes, and there's just a couple things that I'll read to you quickly, and then I'm going to bring Mark in here real quickly to kind of help me. What makes a relay race a relay race? Well, it's not a relay race if one runner holds on and refuses to hand the baton off to anyone else. That's not a relay race. That's a solo race. A relay race requires different runners, and it requires always the passing off the baton. And it's not a relay race if one of the runners wants to be the star. One of the things about relay races is you're more conscious of the other runners than you are of yourself. And you're making sure that you set them up well for their leg of the race, their portion of it. And thirdly, it's not a relay race when the runner doesn't believe in the other runners. It's not a relay race when I'm running around and I don't believe in the people that I'm running around with. And it's not a relay race if somehow I don't give 100%. It's not a relay race if I say, you know what, since I got other people on this race, I think I'll do about 50% and let them make up the difference. That's not a relay race. Everybody is given their very best. And it's not a relay race. It's not a relay race if I fail to hand the baton off at 100% of my speed. In other words, when I hand that baton off, it's not because I'm tired or worn out. It's because what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I give the next runner every possible chance of success by running as fast as I can to that person. So you hand off, when people say, boy, I'm just tired, I think I need to pass off the baton. I look at them right then, and you know what I want to tell them? You've already lost the race. You don't hand the baton off when you're tired, or you don't hand off the baton when you're bored. You only hand off the baton when you are running a maximum race. And a relay race is impossible without other people. And that's leadership. Leaders always are with other people. So I think the questions we want to ask ourselves as we set up this lesson now is who's on your relay team? Who's on your relay team? I think you need to be asking the question, who am I handing the baton off to? And I think you also need to ask those runners in the race with you on your team, who are you handing the baton off to? And again, holding the baton is not a relay race. Passing the baton is a relay race. Setting yourself up for success is not a relay race. Setting the other runners up for success, that's a relay race. So I'm going to give you just a few, not many, but they're just dynamic. I'm going to give you just a few relay race requirements. What's required to really run a good relay race with your team? And the first one I put first because I think it's the most important, and that is communication. I think that if you're going to run a real good relay race, you have to be continually talking to the other runners. I had a mentor, Charles Blair, in Colorado one time, who taught me, he said, John, have an understanding so there's not a misunderstanding. And what he was saying all the time is, you got to have an understanding, John, so there's not a misunderstanding. Make sure everybody understands. Well, this is what communication is all about. It's all about having an understanding so there's not a misunderstanding. It's all about upfront expectation. And by the way, you cannot run a successful relay race if there's no understanding or no communication. I mean, David, if you and I are running a relay race and I got the baton, but I look at you and say, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to give you the baton. Well, that's not a relay race. I have the baton. And you're looking and say, well, am I going to get a run with you? Well, I don't know. Or I'm not sure when I'm going to give it to you. Just hang around and hopefully there'll be a day, I'm kind of tired today. It's not a relay race if I'm not even sure why I'm going to hand off the baton. So it's very essential for us to understand that unless we hand off the baton to someone else and let them run with us, we're not in a leader's race. I don't know what kind of race you're in. You may say, well, I'm just good on 100 yards. Well, good. Then you're an individual speed guy, and good for you. And at the end, we'll give you a medal. But you didn't take anybody with you. Nobody's going to celebrate at the end. A leader's race is a relay race. So let's talk about communication, okay? Mark and I have been running a relay race for quite a few years now. And of course, Mark Cole is the CEO of all of my companies and part owner of our company, okay? And so when we were getting ready to hand off batons and beginning to do this relay race correctly, he and I sat down, and the exercise I'm going to lead you through right now is life-changing. First of all, I've never heard anybody talk about it. I've never listened to anybody teach it. But what I'm about to tell you now, if you really want to be a great relay race runner, is essential. We're talking about communication. So Mark and I sat down, and here's what we said to each other. I looked at Mark and I said, Mark, what do you need from me to run this race really well? And he sat down and said, okay, John, let me tell you the things I need from you. And in about 60 seconds, Mark's going to share with all of your team, David, that what he shared with me. In other words, we got real specific. Here's what I need from you to run that race. And by the way, Mark looked at me and said, okay, this is what I need from you. So we had this incredible understanding. We narrowed it and nailed it down to Mark needs this from me and I need this from Mark to really run a great race. And so, Mark, of course, you remember the experience really well. And I would love for you to take a few minutes now and develop your part, because you looked at me and said, here are the things I need from you, John, to really run a good race. And I'd like for you to take and give it to him. And the reason we're doing this, David, is so that your team really understands specifically what's important in communication to run this race. So, Mark, you want to take that away?
Yeah, I'd love to, John. I'm holding right now a baton that John has given me in this process. And I'll come back to why I'm holding this in front of you today. I'm sitting in my office in Atlanta. John's sitting in a hotel room in Florida. But we left each other last night. And this first thing that I told John that I needed was proximity. And so I love the timing of this lesson, John, that you and Aaron have created, because we're right at the beginning of NVISIONU. Yes. And I love, by the way, John, I don't know if you can see on your screen, but Yvonne and David are sitting right together side by side. And if you can't see it, it's a beautiful illustration of proximity. These are the two leaders that are driving there. John, there's some 1.3 thousand people, 1,300 people on this call right now. And our leaders are sitting in the same room somewhere. They're from two different cities. What they're illustrating is proximity, because you're never going to run a great race if you don't start together. If you don't find a way to be close in the transition time of having the baton pass, it's not going to be effective if it doesn't start immediately with proximity. So the first thing I said to John Maxwell was, John, if I'm going to catch this baton, if I'm going to run the race as well as you've ran it, hopefully better with the wonderful team I have around me, it's going to be with proximity. I got to be close to the source, the vision source, the person that's running with me. And again, David and Vaughn, I congratulate you. I don't know if it was intentional, but I love that y'all are sitting in the same room right now, showing this team that we're starting this baby out with proximity. The second thing I asked John was for wisdom. Not just John's the older leader, but John has accomplished some things that I've never accomplished. Sometimes we look at wisdom as needing to come from somebody older than us. It's not always true. Sometimes it comes from people that are younger than us, but they've done something different. I needed John's insight to be able to carry this baton well. The third thing I asked from John was intuition. He has an incredible intuitive ability on opportunity. As you're building your business, and I'm talking to leaders here in this 1.4 thousand, John, now 1,400 people as they keep jumping in. As I listen to you, some of you are trying to build this business with a significant other. Some of you are trying to build it with a business partner, just somebody you've come in. All I can tell you is you need to identify on the front end what each are bringing to the table so that you can exercise intuition in the areas of your strength. Some of you are strong in recruiting, and you can just smell a good recruit better than anybody else. Some of you are good with follow through. Know where your strengths are, because that's where you're going to find intuition. And I told John, I need your experience if I'm going to run this well, if I'm going to run this race well with you. The fourth area was authenticity. I wanted John's example. Guys, you're going to find out over the next 12 months, what you see is what you get with John. By the time we're done, we're probably going to be dancing on these Zoom calls. We're going to be acting the fool, because John has determined he's going to make himself available as a leader that is accessible. There's just an authenticity to John Maxwell that you will not experience anywhere else. David, you said a little bit of that on the front end when we were trying to get John and I live on video. But John is authentic, and I needed him to teach me how to be authentic, because too many leaders are trying to be the show rather than to be a part of the show. And John just is a part of the show. He does not see himself as a show. Number 5 was empowerment. I needed John to give me authority. I needed him to give me believability. And so I asked him for empowerment. Number 6 was significance. Man, you guys are already talking about success, and Ed Milet, which, by the way, is a great friend of John and I's. We love the Ed Milet reference because we love him. But what you need right here is not just success, what happens to you. You need significance, what happens through you. And then networking. I needed John's networking, number 6. I needed John to introduce me to his level of influencers to make me available. I didn't meet David because David knew who Mark Cole was. I met David because John brought me in and met and introduced me to David and Yvonne. I needed his ability to network. Number 7 is respect, or sorry, number 8 rather. Number 8 is respect. I needed John to respect me even though I wasn't respectable yet. I needed to be treated as I had a 10 on my head before I was really a 10. And John has extended at every turn that respect. And then 2 more. I needed his platform. I needed the ability to stand with him to gain influence and credibility. And John has been so generous, as he will be with you. Take my influence, make that your influence, and let's go influence together. And then the final thing for me was belief. Trying to take John Maxwell's baton and run with it. There were days I did not have enough belief in myself. And John looked at me when I said, John, I need your belief. And he said, Mark, I've got so much belief in you, you can borrow mine. On the days that you don't feel like you can run very fast, guess what? You can borrow my belief. And again, I'm going to tell you very quickly here, over the next 12 months, you're going to get a borrowed belief from John Maxwell as he teaches us how to run this race well. John, thanks, because you have delivered on every one of those.
Yeah, what I remember most about these conversations, we can give them to you very quickly, and you did a terrific job, Mark. But it didn't take, we weren't able to form them quickly. It took us weeks of talking to each other before we felt we had a valid list. And I cannot overemphasize the fact that if you're really going to have a relay race, you've really got to communicate this and really understand what you need from each other. And what I shared with Mark, what I needed from him is I needed his heart. I needed a 100%er all the time. I needed somebody that absolutely loved me, loved the work. I needed his trust. He's young, and I needed to be able to trust him, and he needed to be able to trust me. I said, Mark, if I'm ever going to really hand the baton off you as a CEO, I've got to have performance out of you. I can't raise you to a high level and hand the baton off to you if you don't perform. That people have got to see you succeed. People do what people see. The fourth thing I requested from Mark is I said, I want you have to be teachable. And being teachable is just a beautiful spirit of humility, which Mark has in a tremendous way. Because if you're really trying to run a race with somebody and win a race with somebody, they just have to have this spirit all the time of, I want to learn, I'm hungry to learn, and they're willing to adjust and adapt to take that learning and make it effective in their life. Another thing that, again, with Mark, there were some things that just were going to stretch him, but I needed my peers to buy into him. And what I would tell Mark is, I can get you in the room with some real winners, some real movers and shakers, Mark. I can do that. But I can't keep you in the room. You have to keep yourself in the room. In other words, I can bring you in the room. I can tell everybody Mark's doing a great job. He's probably going to take my place sometime. And I can set you up, Mark. But when I leave the room, you got to hold the room. I'm not there now. And by the way, when it's all over, my peers will tell me if you held the room or not. I've got to have peer buy-in. My peers have got to buy into you. And the reason that's so important is they're the financial engine of everything that we're doing. They're the ones that we are entrepreneurs with. They're the ones that help us, just get to where we need to go with their giftedness and their opportunities and their relationships and their dollars. I shared with him that I needed him to be emotionally strong. What sets great leaders apart from good leaders is that great leaders just have a strength, a core, that when the pressure hits, and it does, it hits all of us, they're able to keep standing. They don't get carried away when the crowd gets carried away. They don't emotionally get swept by the tide of whatever the opinion is. They're just steady. I just said, you need to be emotionally strong. I told him I needed his energy. Again, wow. I mean, do you want to hand the baton off to somebody that doesn't have any energy? I can almost promise you they're not going to do really well when they get it. I said, you're going to have to be in there with energy. I need you to be incredibly reliable. I mean, I don't have to. When I hand the baton off to Mark, I don't have to ask myself, do I think he'll do it? I mean, okay, I gave him the baton. I wonder now if he's doing the job. I've never, not one time in my life have I ever looked at Mark and I think, I wonder if he's goofing off today. Good Lord, I wonder if he's working. In fact, with Mark, it's kind of like once in a while he needs to go goof off. I mean, he's so intense and he's so he just holds responsibility so heavy. But I said you got to be reliable. Obviously, if I'm going to hand the baton off, I've got to see growth potential because I'm still growing. And can I tell you something? If I'm still growing, but the people around me aren't growing, there's going to be a pretty wide gap pretty soon. So it's not only am I growing, I expect the people that are going to be in this relay race with me to keep growing. And then I said, I need you to protect me. I need you to protect me because I'm in the limelight and I need somebody that's got my back for me. Somebody that, you know, they're just going to, hey, they're going to be in my corner. They're going to stand by me. And what I would say is, as we kind of wrap up this upfront conversations that we're talking about right now, is that this truly was the number one success of the baton handing off right here. I'm going to give you a couple other things that are really important. But this conversation to where I could look him in the eye and I could say, I understand what you need from me. And he could look me in the eye and he could say, I understand what I need from you. That's what brought us together, so that now we're not spending a lot of energy on stuff that we assumed or that we thought, or I'm sure he's now thinking, no. We know where we're going. We know what we need from each other. And we now know how to be good teammates. And here's what I want you to know. You can't be a good teammate if you don't know what your teammate needs. And so you gotta have that conversation. So the leaders race is a relay race. And the first thing that has to happen in this whole process of all the things have to happen is there has to be upfront conversation, continual communication, okay? The second thing to run a good relay race is practice. And the reason practice is so essential is that now your success depends on someone else. See, there's the practice that I personally go through. I mean, if I'm running this race, I have to personally practice for myself. But the practice level goes to a whole different level in a relay race. I mean, if I'm just running a race by myself, I don't have to worry about a baton. I don't have to worry about an exchange zone. I don't have to worry about timing. I don't have to worry about a visual coordination between what I do and what the next. I don't have to worry about any of those things. See, a relay race, if you've got to practice without others, you got to practice more with others. And so there's a lot of, and you know, practice doesn't make perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. They just have to, you know, you've got to do these handoffs until they become instinctual. But the handoffs don't start with instinct. The handoffs start with intentionality. We're doing this. We're going to get better at it. We're not good at it now, but you don't just instinctively run a relay race. You just have to know the other person, understand the other person, and practice together. And you've got this exchange zone. You've got this little space. And by the way, in this exchange zone, almost all relay races are won or lost. Not in the speed of the runners as much as the handoff of the baton. The exchange zone, this section where you're running as fast as you can, and you're waiting for them to get that or speed up as fast as they can, and then at that moment you hand off. In this exchange zone, this is the place that literally defines the relay race. The fact that you have an exchange zone means it's a relay race. It's the place that determines the success of the race. The success of this race is going to be determined how well you do the handing off of the baton, and it's by far it's the part of the race that needs the most practice. But it's the place where it really provides, I think, also the greatest improvement and fulfillment. I don't know, is there anything better than at full speed you hand the baton off perfectly to someone else, that it's full speed and you know that you just did it right and they did it right and things turn out right. But there's a lot of practice that needs to be done. You practice handing off. You practice empowering people. You practice equipping, then empowering them. The third thing needed in the relay race is obviously teamwork. In my in my book on the laws of teamwork, one of the laws is the law of Mount Everest. The law of Mount Everest says as the challenge escalates, the need for teamwork elevates. In other words, you gotta be a better team with a better challenge. And so when you look at teamwork, first of all, you got to ask yourself, what kind of talent do I have on the team? In other words, I got to look around at my players, my runners, and I got to ask myself, can they run well? Because this is a team effort. And we are going to only be as good as our weakest link. We're only be as fast as our slowest person. You know, I wrote a book one time entitled Beyond Talent, you know, and it's all about the fact that you got to have X amount of talent to have success. There's just this, and then you have to make the right choices too. If you're a track coach and you need a 7-foot high jumper, it's not going to do if you have 7 people on your team that can jump 1 foot. That ain't going to make it. You got to have talent. You got to have somebody who can jump 7 feet. But you don't ask yourself, do I have the talent to make this relay race successful? But can we run well together? Boy, this is huge. Can we run well? I mean, it's possible to have really good, talented players, but they just don't like each other or they don't play well together. In fact, it's highly possible they sabotage each other. It's kind of like, I want to run my leg really well, but then I hope that if they don't run their well, you know, then I look like I'm better than the rest of them. In my laws of teamwork, one of the laws is the law of accountability. And the law of accountability says teammates must be able to count on one another when it counts. Back to my mentor, John Wooden. When he was coaching at UCLA, he had a player named Sidney Wicks. And Sidney, his first day of practice, okay, he was young. John Wooden said at the end of practice, every player on the basketball court knew that the most talented person on the team was this young kid named Sidney Wicks. But he said, John, he wasn't a team player. He was very selfish. And his whole game of basketball was give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. So he said, the only way that I could mold him into a team player is I set him on the bench. He said, I used the bench to change my play. He said, well, it was very simple. If they weren't doing what I coached them to do, and Sidney wasn't, he was just wanting the ball all the time. He was selfish. He said, it's okay, then I'll put you on the bench. You don't get the ball at all. You sit on your butt. But he said Sidney was so passionate about the game that during the game, sometimes he'd come off the bench, he'd come down to the coach, say, Coach, put me in the game. And then he'd say to the coach, Coach, you know I'm the best player on the team. And Coach Wood would look at him and say, yes, Sidney, I know you're the best player on the team, but the team doesn't play best when you're on it. You see, when you're running a relay race, you have to ask the 2 questions. Do I have talent to win? And do my runners, are they good team players? And you can't add, if they're good team players, but you don't have the talent, the good news is they'll get along well, but they won't win. And if they have great talent, but they're not team players, the good news is they'll show you incredible sparks of speed, but they still won't win. And the last thing that I want to say to you is if you're going to run a relay race, you have to have the big picture. And the big picture means that when I'm done with my leg, I may be in first place if I'm in competition, but the race isn't done yet. So there's no celebration with my part of my leg run. I'm glad I ran well, but we got to be better together, because that's what a relay race is all about. It's all about teamwork, and we have to be better at developing our players, because it's all about growth and improvement. And then we just have to realize that we play a game that is what I call an infinite game. It's more than one race. It's running continually to make a difference and add value to people. And there's something really beautiful about equipping and training and developing those people. So let me give you one closing little illustration, because we want to give a little bit of time, David, for Q&A. I wrote a book. If you really want to know a lot more about developing other people, I wrote a book called The Leader's Greatest Return. Okay. And it's all about how to compound yourself through others. But in the year of around 2000, I started what I called Million Leader Mandate, which was just a mandate with volunteers to try to train leaders in every country of the world. And we had 400 volunteers that said, hey, we'll go. And by the way, these volunteers, they traveled twice a month for 3 years. So they made 6 trips to some destination in the world. In fact, one time we added up all the trips our volunteers took, and they took 4,500 trips. They literally traveled 40 million miles. And they taught already. Are you ready to hang on to your seatbelt here? They taught 162,000 leadership lessons. 162,000. And they trained over 5 million people, and we did it in 14 years. And the reason we did it is we understood we were in a relay race. We understood that we had to have each other, and we had to have the best of each other. And we just really needed to encourage one another, because we're all on the same team. So I wrap it up, but I put at the end of this lesson what I call the relay race return. And the relay race return just means the right team, plus the right mission, plus the right attitude, plus consistency.
Oh my goodness.
What's that? Ridiculous relay race returns. If you can have the right team with the right mission, with the right attitude, and you can have that consistently, I mean, just it's there all the time, you're going to get a ridiculous relay race return. And that's the race that we run. If you're out on the track running by yourself, you may be a good track star, but you're not a leader. Leaders are always known and defined by people they have around them. So what Mark and Aaron and I hope for you on lesson 1 is that we begin to develop, David, a great relay race team for you and for this incredible company that you have, so that you can just absolutely succeed and help others succeed and make a big difference in the lives of a whole bunch of people.
Wow. Well, John, I'm sitting here with Ivan Tapia, and I know he's got a couple questions that he wants to ask you, but just want to say thank you for that. I think that is what you just shared, yourself and Mark, is a very timely lesson for what it is that we're about to embark on.
Sure.
We are days away now, a little over a couple of weeks away from the actual launch of NVISIONU. So I think the start of the relay race is what's happening right now. And I want to thank you and Mark for coming on. And I know we're going to be doing this on Sundays. We just had to do it on this particular day. But Yvonne, we had about 2,000 people on it, because we're actually translating it in Spanish as well on another call. So Yvonne, I know you have some questions that you wanted to ask Mr. Maxwell.
First of all, thank you, John, for the amazing teaching that you guys you did to us today. We're also grateful about your time and how you service worldwide. First of all, thank you very much. I mean, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is this amazing teaching that you give us today, how the amazing return on the relay race. But what if I'm a brand new person? What if I haven't created a team yet, or I'm just starting to create my team now? What should I focus if I'm starting to create my organization? right now in order to have the right team? Should I focus? What would you do if that was you starting as a brand new leader?
Yeah, I love that question, Vaughn. And by the way, I'll do a little bit of answering on it. And Mark, feel free to to always add value, because you always do when you share. Yeah, many of the people probably watching haven't really developed their team yet. So the first thing I would do is I would make sure that I'm running well. I mean, if you're going to have a relay race, I'm assuming you're going to get in the race. It's not something you watch from the stands. You don't drink a beer and a hot dog, eat a hot dog, and we're talking about you being a player coach. You're in the race yourself. So get well conditioned yourself and get good yourself. Remember this: your people are only going to get as good as you are. People do what people see. So if you're trying to get some good runners, you got to be a good runner yourself. You have to have credibility with them. So just make sure that you're practicing and you're getting in condition. And again, it goes to the kid one time that asked me. He said, he was still in college. He said, "I love your leadership, but I don't have anybody to lead. Where do I start?" I said, "Well, start with yourself." So, if you wouldn't follow yourself, why would anyone else follow you? So that you start with yourself. Second thing you do, though, is you begin to tell the story. You begin to tell the story of how you envision other people joining you to really run a race that'll make a difference in the lives of people. I have found that if you have a great vision and if you have a great story, you'll attract great people. But if you try to attract great people without the vision and the story, they won't be near as excited about joining your team, because they're not really sure where it's going and what it's going to look like. So, begin to tell a story of a relay race with your team that really is going to make a difference. The third thing I would do after I gave them the picture, I gave them the story, is I would look at people and I would ask them if they wanted to be a part of something that is spectacular. If they want to be part of something that has potential to change their life and the lives of others. And I would appeal. And by the way, I would share with them that this is not an easy race and there's a lot of work to it. But now you're appealing, you're showing the story, and now you're appealing to what I call the better man or the better woman inside of an individual. You see, in my life, I've got the better John, and then I got the lesser John. Okay, and only the bigger John is attracted to a story that is challenging and big. And so what I learned a long time ago is if you cast the vision, what you do is, people talk about vision unites. I think the vision separates. I think when you cast the vision, you very quickly separate the people who really want to make a difference versus the people who just want to be on a team that has momentum and hopefully ride that wave. So I would begin to enlist, recruit, bring them on the team, and I would start practicing with them immediately. And I would never let them forget the fact that just as you're learning to hand the baton off to them, that's the same thing they do. Here's the key in a relay race. A relay race is never about you. And a relay race is all about your ability to pass the baton on to others successfully. And this gives them the big picture. And that's what leaders thrive. Leaders love it. Individual 100-yard dash guys, they don't like the relay race. Good Lord, that means it depends on you. They want to depend just on themselves. So I think if you start doing those simple, basic things, you begin to attract people. And as you attract them, then you run around the track with them and see who your players are.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's big. John, I've got a question here. You talked about the bigger picture, and the bigger picture obviously being the vision. How do you handle the obvious adversity that shows up in our lives when you have a vision for your life? Each and every one of us on this call, we all have a vision for our lives. We have a vision here for this company. to impact 1 billion people spiritually, physically, and emotionally, how do you handle the adversity that comes, the challenges that come?
Well, yeah, I love the question, David. And let me just say this. Here's the way this works. This is very simple. The bigger the vision, the greater the adversity. The size of the vision determines the size of the opposition. There is no such thing as a big vision and very little adversity. And you may have dreamed that in bed at night, but when you wake up, that isn't the way it works. If you have a little vision, you'll have a little bit of adversity. But if you have a big vision, it's just like you have a big opportunity, you also have big adversity. You see, the problem with immature people, David, is they try to eliminate the adversity and maximize the opportunity. And I look at them and I ask them, "What are you smoking? This is not a possibility. So don't waste your time." So, for example, we're trying to do transformation of nations. I mean, that's a big vision. A billion people, that's a great vision, David. But can I tell you something? If you're going to try to literally influence, touch 1 billion people, you're going to have so much challenges and so much. It's a climb. I mean, this isn't like a grade where you look at your neighbor and you say, "I think this hill's a little uphill." This hill's straight up. So I never understand a person that gets in this game that complains about the adversity. You know what it reminds? It reminds me of a guy trying to climb Mount Everest. And every day when they start their climb again and they get all their tools out, he complains about how steep the hill is. And I would look at him and say, "This is Mount Everest. Did you think we're on the plains of Nebraska? This is Mount Everest. The climb is hard and the climb is long." And I think that when people are moaners, I just think that they begin to become the weight that you don't want to have. And I think when people say, "Well, if I knew it was going to be this hard, I wouldn't, I'm going to quit." I want to tell them, I tried to tell you how hard it was so you wouldn't start. Because it's this, David, if you got people, "Oh my gosh, people don't like us. And did you read what they said?" Again, I'm using a biblical example because I'm a person of faith. But Nehemiah is trying to build a wall in Jerusalem. And he's got all these nitpickers all the time wanting to distract him. Because the issue is these people want to distract you. And distraction is what I don't allow it to happen. You can't allow it to happen. You're like, so here they're coming. They're trying to distract Nehemiah. And what did he say? He said, "I'm building a wall." They wanted him to come down. "Get off the ladder. We want to have another meeting." "I'm building a wall and I cannot come down." What's he saying to these people? You are not going to stop me from the mission and the vision I have of securing this city safe with a wall. So when I hear people starting to complain about how hard this is, I realize almost always they're not a player. They're just a pretender. And they were hoping to get to the top without effort or energy or price. It's not possible. It's not even a discussion to have, because it's like I would like to row. I would like to take a boat and go to the other side of the lake, but I don't want to row it. And by the way, there are waves. This is part of the program.
Wow. Amazing.
I think we got time for one more question, John, and then we'll wrap up this week, and we'll let everybody know when the next call will be.
I guess we got so many questions. I guess one that can help out even everybody is, how can I create a bigger mission? Because when we start in the leadership roles, sometimes we don't understand how big of a mission it can get. So how do you suggest you start creating even a bigger mission for your life?
Well, I saw Mark nod. See, maybe it'll help you a little bit more than this, but unless I'm missing something, you already have a big vision. Good Lord, 1 billion people seems big to me. Now, maybe
Yeah, maybe the question is more for the new person, not for me and David. You know, how can a brand new person create a bigger mission for their lives?
For their own life, you're saying?
Yes.
Well, okay. I think I'm sorry. I was kind of misunderstanding it. Again, Mark, you might want to jump in and help a little bit. But what I tell people is, why don't you get good where you are, and then your world will expand. Again, let me just use a biblical example. There's David, and David got very popular. In fact, he basically was known in the country of Israel because he knocked down the big boy Goliath. But before he knocked down Goliath, he was a shepherd kid. And out in the fields, there was a bear that one day came and tried to eat the sheep, and he killed the bear. And there was another time a lion came and he killed the lion. And so David basically said, I've taken care of a bear and I've taken care of a lion. Bring on the big boy. Now, can I tell you something? He doesn't want the big boy to come if he hasn't handled the bear and the lion. So I tell people, you don't need a bigger mission. You need a bigger you. You've got to be bigger. If you're bigger, that mission, don't worry about that. That baby will grow. But he's got to take the bear on first. He's got to be successful. He's got to then take on the lion. He's got to be successful. Now, when he goes out there and sees Goliath, he has enough confidence to say, you know what? Because he said this. It's biblical. Well, I killed the bear and I killed the lion. Bring on the big boy. You don't get the big boy first. And by the way, he didn't ask for the big boy. The big boy asked for him. Somebody see that because he had courage when the big boy started taunting Israel, it challenged him. You see, when you have courage, you're challenged by the Goliaths. But if you don't have courage, you're not challenged by them at all. So when people say, well, I'd like to have a bigger mission, I'd like to say, well, what are you doing right now with your small mission? Are you knocking out a bear? Are you knocking out a lion? If you're knocking out those two, I think we could maybe go into big boy territory. But let's not go to big boy territory yet. You don't make the mission mission makes you. So you just have to grow into it. Don't go into it, grow into it, and you'll be able to handle it.
The only thing I was going to add is I get asked all the time, how does John come up with a dream big enough to say, I want to transform a country? For those of you that know, over the course of the year, we'll tell you our story, but we now have 23 presidents, prime ministers asking John to bring his team. People like David and Yvonne say, bring your team and I will open up the doors of our country and you can transform our country. And I'll never forget when the leader of one of the largest mortgage companies in the world said, John, I used to think I dreamed big until I heard you say, I want to transform a country. Well, here's what John has taught me and our team to do. Always dream one size bigger. Well, what does that mean? Imagine where you are now, imagine where you want to be, and go bigger. Always increase yourself and challenge yourself to dream bigger. It's Henry Curtis that said this, and this is what I was looking for, was this quote, John, that you've used. Henry Curtis said, make your plans as fast and as fantastic as you would like, because 25 years from now, they will seem mediocre.
Yeah.
Then he said, make your plans 10 times as great as you first planned, and 25 years from now, you will wonder why you did not make them 50 times as great.
Yeah.
So go bigger. Not just go bigger to go home as if it's something final. Go bigger because you can stretch into the magnitude of your dream. You can. But if you dream this size, you might accomplish this size. But if you'll dream this size, you're going to accomplish much bigger than you would have dreamed in the first place. And so, John, I would just say, and I've added 2 minutes to our time here, just dream one size bigger. Whatever your dream was before today's call, go add something to it. Go dream one size bigger.
Yeah.
That's good. Very good, Mark. Very
well, John, thank you so much We definitely want to respect your time, and we appreciate you. You are a national treasure to the world. I don't take 1 second of your time for granted, and we appreciate you, myself, Yvonne, everybody. I muted the chat because I want everybody focused on what you were talking about, but I know that they're grateful. We have the next year with you. I can't believe what's about to happen for the people that are part of NVISIONU. They have no idea what's about to happen to them. I have no idea what's about to happen to them over the next year, but I do know there will be tremendous growth. We've got a big goal. So John, we'll say anything, last thing you want to say before we let you go?
No, David, I love you dearly. I love
right.
you. I believe in your vision, and what a privilege you have given us to come alongside. When I say I'm going to do something like this, I weigh heavily who the leader is or who the leaders are. And I weigh heavily what the mission is, because I don't have enough time to help a lot of people. So I got to help the best, and helping you with your vision. And you have such a beautiful heart. Your desire is to make a difference in people's lives. That's what makes it so good to us. And so our team, we're thrilled. We're thrilled to be with you. And hey, this is going to be a great year. You've alluded to it. Mark's alluded to it. I'm going to third it. It's going to be a great year.
Yeah. Thank you. We thank God.
Thank
Well,
you.
appreciate you, John. And guys, me and Yvonne got a couple more things we want to share with you before we let you go. Thank you, John.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Guys, two things that are so paramount to the success that Yvonne has been able to have, and the Garys and the Justins and the Angela Crookshanks and the Jose Luises and all the leaders that are part of what it is that we're doing. One thing I can tell you is that we've all developed a tremendous amount of self-confidence. And that self-confidence is a belief that we have in ourselves, but it's born out of a belief of who created us, knowing who's on the inside of us. But then also it's a tremendous amount of belief in you. It's a tremendous amount of belief in each other. The only reason why Yvonne and myself would decide to put this company together along with the corporate team is because we have a tremendous amount of belief in each other. We know what our strengths are, we know what our weaknesses are, and we carry and help each other in those areas and develop. And that's why we're doing this. And I think it's so important that the next call that we have, that you don't take it lightly. You know, I really thought we would have over 3,000 people on the call. 2,000 is a good start, but I think the next one, let's go ahead and let's see if we can get over 5,000 people to listen in. When you give this information away, guys, we've made the investment. So this is, we made the investment before a dime has come into the company.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're making the investment, and how you're going to be able to get a return on this investment is your level of appreciation for the investment. And you appreciate it through your level of promoting for the investment. Just this 1 hour that we spent with John, and just, he said, well, it's once a month. I could tell you, it's going to be transformational, guys. It really is. So the belief that we have in each other, and then the leadership that we have. Why are people going to want to be a part of what it is that we're doing? It's going to be because of the environment that we have, the culture that we create, how we treat people in and out of this company, our results. Make no mistake about it. We're going to have massive results. My partner right here, he's got such a big imagination. I say one number, he says, David, it's higher than that. I say, great. Right. All right. I never dispute that, because I know what's on the inside of him. So we're going to push each other. Iron sharpens iron. That's what we want you to do as well. Two things I want us to focus on. I'll turn this over to you, Yvonne, is what your goal is and what your plan for growth is. So we're not just going to be goal orientated. We're also going to be growth orientated. See, we have a goal, but then we have a plan for growth. And what you just experienced was part of that plan. We're going to have leadership retreats. We're going to have Ruby retreats. We're going to have Emerald excursions. We're going to have diamond trips. We're going to have vision days, right? And all of this is all part of the culture and the environment that we're creating, to where people look at us and say, you know what? I don't even care what they're selling. I don't care. I want to be a part of what it is that they're doing. So what your goal is it either to be a day one champion that breaks a champion, or is it to be a day one diamond? Those are the two things that each and every one of us, I firmly believe that every single person that's on this line, you can go champion and break a champion by October 3rd. I believe that with every fiber of my being. We're talking about 6 to 7 gold packs that you personally enroll, and then helping someone else personally enroll 6 to 7 gold packs. Set the goal, and we have a plan for you to grow. And you're going to be different a year from now. You're going to be different 3 years from now. You're going to be a much better person. So I'll turn it over to you before we close out today.
It's just amazing what David just also spoke. It's 100% true. You know, we were speaking last night in text about the goals that we have for NVISIONU, and when we're speaking in text, we're talking about 100 diamonds by the end of this year. So we're talking 100 diamonds by the end of this year. We're talking about 500 diamonds by the end of next year. Just so you guys understand, we're talking about a company that's going to be selling $50 million per month by the end of next year. That is the goal. That is why we're looking into creating the environment for all of you guys to grow and to accelerate the growth with John Maxwell and all the leadership that he's going to be bringing. My suggestion is, in that call every month, don't take it like, oh, just an amazing, another call with John Maxwell. What is when I remember when I was understanding how important this type of calls were, I'll put a price on the call. Like how much would this call would be if I would have a personal call with John Maxwell? This is a personal mentorship call if you take it to that level with John Maxwell. And his time for a personal 1-hour meeting will be like $30,000, just so you guys maybe understand how important this is. So if you are investing $30,000 times 12 months, that is going to be over basically $300,000 for the whole year. So you're investing $300,000 in your personal development just to be here with John Maxwell. Now, how much of an investment, how much of a return would you like on those $300,000? And I know we have an amazing leaders here with Justin and Gary and Cruikshanks, and a lot of leaders are taking advantage of that investment, and they're gonna be going. I know there's gonna have a lot of we know we have sold the goal of creating on the first on the October 3rd, we set over 1,000 champions. So that is a huge goal that we have. And then of that, if we're gonna have 1,000 champions, that means we can minimum have a goal of over 50 diamonds on October 3rd. So now the question out of those 50 diamonds, we're just getting started. That's the reality. I was speaking yesterday to some leaders in the network marketing industry in other countries, and they're about to get started with us in the next couple of weeks. So the reality is the noise is out there. That, you know, a lot of people are interested. A lot of people are excited already about getting started with us. But all of you guys are already in. So if you guys are already in, I will already have a plan right now of where I'm going to personally be in the next 90 days and then in the next 18 months. Remember, a lot of people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. Our goal here is to go for a legendary company. Legendary company, that means that we are focused, laser focused on the next 50 to 20 years to create and envision you the biggest, and not only the biggest, that's maybe not the correct word, the most amazing company, incredible company for all the leaders to feel like they're building a long-term result here with us and a family here with us. So that's the vision of us. That's why you see David and myself traveling around the world. And honestly, I know he's not going to stop. I know I'm not going to stop sharing the vision of NVISIONU around the world. So if you're going to be here in this momentum, the reality, you're going to be starting with us before the momentum. So we're not even, we're only in the formulation stage. we're just even getting started in this company. We're not even in concentration stage. When people compare us to other companies, I get overwhelmed because we haven't even started. So you're comparing us to a 3-year-old, 5-year-old company. Please compare us, because that means we're doing things correctly. And once we start with we're stopped with this pre-launch stage by December, there's going to be so many stories that are going to be able to share around the world. And you guys, I truly suggest that you be one of those stories.
Yes.
Not only share somebody else's stories also, but also you be one of those amazing, successful stories. So by the next year, not only you are in a successful story, but you are sharing also thousands of stories in the company and hundreds or dozens of stories in your own organization. So don't take this next 19 days for granted, because we got 19 days to open officially on the pre-launch. I'm already excited. I'm working it like we're already starting tomorrow. So take advantage of this, guys. We're excited to be here. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you, Yvonne. Thank you so much for this call. Excited for each and every one of you. And guys, there's so much noise out there. There are people that are excited. They know we're going to do great things. There are people that are thinking it's a startup, it's new, da. You know what you tell them? You say, hey, listen, every company out there that's great today at one point was a startup. Just tell them that. All right. Just tell them, just say, hey, every great company, everyone that ever became a great company at one point was a startup. Were you there when they were a startup? Were you there? Well, guys, each and every one of you can say that you were there with NVU when we got started. I promise you. I guarantee it. And this is a guarantee that we can get. This is a guarantee. All right. Trust me. Yeah. This thing is big. It's not going to be big. It's already big. All right. So appreciate you guys. See you guys in the chat. You're fired up. Put some 7s in the chat for John C. Maxwell and Mark Cole. Give some 7s in the chat if you enjoyed it. You took some notes. I know I took some notes, and we're going to use that. We got leaders that we can count on when it counts.
Yes, I love that one. I love that one. That's the most important.
I need leaders, right, that I can count on when
it counts.
When it counts. And boy, I tell you, it counts right now. It counts right now. Appreciate you guys. Love you. We'll see you soon.
See you guys soon.
Oh, before we go, Sunday, I'll be on the call. On Sunday, you're going to do the Spanish?
I'll do the Spanish.
Okay. So we're going to be doing, I'll do the English. Well, I'll do the Spanish. You do the English. Okay. All right. So 3 p.m. Eastern and then 8 p.m., right?
8 p.m. Central Time.
8 p.m. Central. So 2 Central, 8 p.m. Central on Sunday. Let's pack it out. We're going to have a corporate update. Our COO, Spila Sluga, she's going to be on. And we're going to start placements next week.
It's done.
We're starting placements next week. So you still got some time to decide where you're going to be placed.
Yeah, just a little side note.
Yeah, just a little side note.
Somebody told me 5 days ago that a person called me up and they were launching in a company. Said, "Hey man, I got 65 people over here launching." My guy calls me. It's like, whenever we do the placements, I'm gonna call them up. I'm gonna say, you know how many hundreds and thousands of people we got over here? Get ready, guys, because we haven't even launched. Yeah. Okay.
So, all right.
See you guys Sunday. Love you. Let's go.